Before I get into what actually happened, let me tell you why I'm telling this story at all. Because this isn't just some drama between me and my wife. It's a real life example of how disrespect works. It starts small, it tests your reaction, and if you don't do anything about it, it slowly rewrites the rules inside your own home. The practical takeaway is simple: how to catch the early warning signs, how to draw a line without losing your temper, and how to back it up with consequences that actually mean something. Not punishments, not long speeches, just grown man moves, controlling access, time, space, and accountability. And the part most guys completely miss. When someone starts telling you that your boundaries are controlling behavior, they're usually just trying to keep all the benefits while dodging all the responsibility. I figured that out the hard way, standing in my own driveway. I turned onto our street in the Omaha suburbs, just as the sun was going down behind the ranch houses. Neat front yards, sprinklers going, kids' bikes laying sideways in driveways like their owners just dropped them and ran inside. I'd built a swing set in our backyard with my own hands. Pressure-treated lumber, concrete footings, the whole thing done right. It was that kind of neighborhood. People waved at each other. The biggest problem anybody had was whose dog got out. So when I pulled up and saw a black premium sedan sitting in my driveway like it had always been there, my brain honestly took a second to process it. The passenger door swung open and Lauren practically shot out of the car. She didn't step out. She didn't say thanks for the ride. She moved like she'd just touched something hot. She came around the front of the hood and headed straight for the front door. Fast. Purse pulled tight to her chest like she was guarding it. She didn't look at me, didn't say my name, didn't even do that lazy little wave you give your husband when you're too tired to talk. She just blew right past me. "Lauren?" I called out, more confused than anything else at that point. She kept walking. Her shoulders were up around her ears, tense, like her one goal was to get inside before anybody could get a clear look at her face. Then the driver's window came down. Travis, her boss. He leaned out just enough to make sure I got a good look at the grin on his face. Not a friendly grin. Not an awkward one either. The kind of grin a guy puts on when he's poking at a fence to see if it'll shock him. "Didn't expect you home so early," he said, like we were old friends. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched him. The way his body was still angled toward the passenger seat, like he'd been leaning in close. Close enough that if I'd walked up 10 seconds earlier, nobody would have been able to play it off as nothing. I walked over to his window. Calm, no rush, no big show. Just facts. "You were leaning into her," I told him. "That's not a good night, pal. I know exactly what I saw." His smile flickered a little. He tried to keep it smooth. "Come on, man. We're a close team. It's sales. We're all—" I put my hand up. Just like stopping traffic. Cut him right off. You don't pull into my driveway again. You don't get into my wife's space again. Not here, not at work. You picked the wrong house and the wrong guy to try this with. His eyes went tight. The grin faded off his face like it was melting. He gave this little shrug, like I was overreacting. "You're reading too much into it." "I'm reading exactly into it," I said. "Now leave." For a second, I thought he was going to push back. He had that kind of confidence that comes from never once being checked in his life. Then he just stared at me, jaw set, and rolled the window up. The car backed out slow and smooth and drove away like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just tried to leave his mark on my front yard. I stood there for a moment, listened to the sprinklers, dog barking down the street, regular neighborhood life just carrying right on. If I'd had any idea where all of this was going, I would have taken a photo of that car sitting in my driveway and hung it on the wall, as a reminder of the exact moment my marriage started falling apart. Inside, Lauren was in the kitchen with her back to me, digging around in a drawer like she was looking for something she wasn't actually looking for. I set my keys down on the counter. Neatly. Not slammed. Neatly. "So you want to tell me why you ran past me like I was a cop?" I asked. She didn't turn around. "I didn't sprint," she said. "You moved like you were late for a flight," I told her. She finally turned to face me, eyes flat. He dropped me off. That's it. Every Thursday? I asked. Her eyes moved. Just a small flick. That tiny thing people do when the story they're telling doesn't quite add up. What are you talking about? I'm talking about a pattern, I said. I'm talking about you acting like you've been doing this for a while. She let out this slow breath like I was just draining her. My car is in the shop. You know that. I know your car has been in the shop for a week, I said. I also know Travis drives something that probably cost more than my first house. So, sure, I believe he can give somebody a ride. That's not what I'm asking about. Lauren crossed her arms. Then what is the question, Nathan? The question is why he's leaning into you in my driveway, I said, and why you walked right past me without a single word. She let out a small laugh, not like something was funny, more like she was brushing me off. He's friendly. He's like that with everyone. Not with me, I said. He smiled at me like he was sizing me up. Lauren rolled her eyes. You're imagining things. I leaned back against the counter and kept my voice steady. Try again. She looked at me like I was standing between her and somewhere she'd rather be. Then she gave in a little. Okay, fine. He talks big. He flirts. That's just how he is. It's harmless? Harmless, I repeated. Doesn't really match the way you were trying to disappear into the house. Lauren's jaw tightened. I wasn't trying to disappear. I didn't want a scene. I didn't make a scene, I told her. I made a boundary. There's a difference. Her voice got sharper. You embarrassed me. I protected our home, I said. And you still haven't answered why you didn't shut him down yourself. Lauren threw her hands up. Because it's my job, Nathan. Because I'm building something. Because I can't blow up on my boss every time he says something that rubs me the wrong way. I didn't ask for violence, I said flatly. I asked for a spine. That one hit. I could see it in her eyes. You know what? She snapped. You're stuck. You're standing still. I blinked once. There it is. She stepped closer like she'd been rehearsing this in the car on the way home. I'm out there grinding. I'm traveling. I'm taking meetings. I'm next in line for a promotion. And you're teaching the same class, telling the same stories about dead presidents. I smiled a little, not because it was funny, because it told me something. So this isn't really about a ride, I said. This is about you thinking I don't fit the life you're building anymore. Lauren's nostrils flared. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, I replied. You just did that thing where you get caught doing something, and suddenly I'm the one with the problem. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She looked at it like it was a way out. I'm not doing this, she said, grabbing it. I'm tired. I'm not done, I told her. She stopped at the hallway entrance. Then be done by yourself, she said, and walked away like she'd just won something. That night, I didn't go after her. I didn't ask her to sit down and talk. I just went to the kitchen table and wrote down 3 things. What I saw, what she said, and what I was going to do differently if it happened again. Because when someone starts treating your marriage like it's just an accessory, you don't fix that with feelings. You fix it with decisions. 2 days later, I got home from school and found Lauren upstairs dragging a suitcase out of the closet like she was getting ready to go on some kind of game show. Where are you going? I asked from the doorway. She didn't look up. Work thing. What kind of work thing? I asked. Strategic seminar, she said, like she was reading something off a label. How long? 2 days. I looked at the suitcase. You're telling me this right now. She kept folding clothes. I didn't know if it was finalized yet. That's impressive, I said, because your suitcase looks like it already made up its mind. Lauren finally looked at me. Nathan, don't start. Who's going? I asked. She turned back to the clothes. The team. I waited. She knew I'd wait. She sighed. Travis. A couple other people. I stepped into the room, voice still even. Let me ask you something straight. Are you going because you have to or because he wants you there? Her head snapped up. That is such a gross thing to ask. It's a necessary one, I said. He already crossed a line. You defended him. Now you're getting on a plane with him. Lauren's eyes went hard. You don't get to dictate my career. I'm not dictating, I said. I'm describing consequences. She scoffed. Oh my God. Lauren, I said, keeping it plain and simple. Going on a trip with a man who already pushed boundaries is a risk to this marriage. If you go, you're choosing that situation over us. She zipped the suitcase like she was putting a period at the end of a sentence. I'm choosing my career. There it was again. Career, like it was some kind of hall pass. I nodded once. Okay, she frowned. Okay? Yeah, I said. You've made your choice, so now I'm making mine. Her expression shifted just slightly, the first small crack of concern. What does that mean? It means the rules change, I said. She laughed like I was bluffing. What rules? I walked over to my nightstand, opened the drawer, and pulled out a spare keyring. I held it up so she could see it clearly. Your garage code gets changed tonight, I told her. You'll have a working code as long as we're married and acting like it. Right now, we're not doing that. Lauren's mouth dropped open. Are you serious? Dead serious, I said. You can still come and go, but you don't get to treat this place like a hotel while you figure out if you want a different life. Her face went tight. You're punishing me. I'm protecting my home, I said. You want to call it control. I call it self-respect. She stepped toward me. Nathan, don't be like this. I tilted my head. Like what? She stared at me, looking for the old version of me. The one who would back down and go soft. He wasn't there. She grabbed her suitcase and rolled it out. I could hear the wheels rattling all the way down the stairs. At the front door, she stopped and tried a different approach. Lighter, almost sweet. Hey, she said. When I get back, we should do dinner. We've both been tense. That was her first little peace offering. A small bandage pressed over something that needed stitches. I looked at her, hands in my pockets. Have a good seminar. Her smile froze. You're really going to act like I'm doing something wrong? I'm going to act like choices have weight, I said. She left. I stood there and listened to her car back out and disappear down the street. The neighborhood just absorbed the sound like nothing at all was happening. That night, I went out back and sat on the swing set I'd built with my own hands. Just sat there alone, staring at the yard I'd kept up nice for a life that was starting to feel like I was just renting it. My neighbor Rick came by walking his dog. Retired electrician. Always chewing gum like it personally wronged him. He slowed down when he saw me sitting there. Everything good, Nate? I didn't unload on him. I just said, not really. Rick nodded like he'd seen this kind of story play out before. You want some advice you didn't ask for? Always, I said. He tilted his chin toward my driveway. When somebody starts bringing the office home with them, it's never really about work. It's about power. Then he just kept walking, his dog pulling him along like the man hadn't just said something that stuck in my head for the rest of the night. Power. That was the thing I kept turning over. Who had it? Who was losing it? And who was trying to take it? Friday evening, Lauren called. Her voice was bright and practiced. The kind of voice someone uses when they want you to relax and stop asking questions. Hey, babe, she said, all cheerful. We just got out of the group session. You'd actually like it. It's like strategy mixed with psychology. Sounds thrilling, I said. She laughed. Don't be sarcastic. I'm a history teacher, I told her. Sarcasm is basically in the job description. She kept the energy up. We found this Italian place close to the hotel. The whole team went out. The whole team, I repeated back to her. Yeah, she said. A little too fast. It was fun. Normal. Normal doesn't need a sales pitch, I said. There was a pause. What is that supposed to mean? It means you sound like you're reading from a script, I said. Are you calling because you actually miss me or because you want to check a box? Her voice dropped a degree. I'm calling because you're my husband. I let that hang there for a second. Okay. She bounced back into her upbeat tone like flipping a light switch. Anyway, I'll be home soon. Don't go changing the locks or anything dramatic like that. I don't do dramatic, I said. I do clear. She exhaled, annoyed. You're impossible lately. Funny, I replied. I've been thinking the same thing about this situation. Saturday night, she called again, later this time. She sounded off. Not exactly drunk, just rushed. Her breathing wasn't quite steady. Hey, she said. Hey, I replied. You okay? Yeah, just tired, long day. I listened to the background. A hallway, a television somewhere, muffled voices. Then a faint ding, like an elevator. I'm about to get on, she started. Where are you, I asked. In the hotel, she said, a little too quick. Listen, I can't do this right now, Nathan. I'm exhausted. Can we just talk tomorrow? I kept my voice even. This isn't a game. It's my life. She sighed like I was being childish. Good night. And she hung up. I didn't sleep. Not because I was falling apart. My brain just does what it always does. It lines things up and watches the picture come together on its own. Sunday afternoon, I mowed the lawn. Not because the grass needed it that badly, because keeping a routine is how you stay level when everything under you starts to shift. Around dusk, Lauren's car pulled up out front. She came in looking like the trip had done a number on her. Hair messy, eyes red, dragging her suitcase behind her like it was dead weight. She stopped in the entryway and looked at me like she wasn't sure which version of me was standing there. I didn't move. Talk, I said. Her face fell apart, not in some big dramatic movie way, in a quiet, ugly way that was somehow worse. I messed up, she whispered. I waited. She stepped forward, then stopped, like my stillness was a wall she couldn't get through. It got out of hand. There was drinking, and I didn't. I didn't want it to go that far, but I didn't stop it either. And now it's ruined. I nodded slowly. Did you cross the line with Travis? She covered her mouth for just a second, then nodded. I didn't explode. I didn't demand details. I didn't try to negotiate my way through it. I just looked at her and said, I warned you. Tears started building in her eyes. Nathan, please. I'm sorry, I was stupid. I raised one finger. Stop. She froze. I walked past her to the front door, opened it, and stepped to the side. No speech, no raised voice. Just an open door pointing in one direction. Lauren stared at it like she was standing at the edge of something she couldn't take back. What are you doing? I kept my voice flat. You're not staying here tonight. Her voice cracked. You're kicking me out. I'm closing access, I said. You made your choice. Now you live with it. She shook her head quickly. I can fix this. I can quit. You should have cared about fixing it before you broke it, I said. Go. She looked around the room like she was waiting for the house itself to take her side. Then she stepped outside, suitcase bumping over the threshold. Before she could turn back around, I reached into the little bowl by the door where we'd always dropped our keys and I slid her house key out of it. I held it up between us. That stays, I said. Her eyes went wide. You can't do that. I can't, I said. And I am. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked past me into the house one last time, like she was trying to memorize it. You're really doing this? Her voice was hollow. I nodded. Yes. She stood there on the porch breathing hard like it had just hit her that this wasn't about guilt anymore. It was about something permanent. Then she walked down the steps. I closed the door, turned the deadbolt, and just stood there for a moment in the quiet. That was the real turning point. Not her confession. The fact that she thought confessing would hand her a clean reset. It didn't. The next afternoon, a woman I'd never seen before knocked on my door. Polished, calm, hair neat, Outfit put together without looking like she was trying too hard. Hi, she said. Nathan. I didn't invite her in. I stepped out onto the porch and pulled the door mostly closed behind me. Yes, I said. Who are you? Victoria, she replied. Travis's wife. I let that settle for a second. She studied my face like she was reading a report. I saw your wife this morning leaving a hotel room. Travis's room. I didn't react the way she was probably expecting. I just nodded once. Okay. Victoria tilted her head slightly. You're surprisingly calm about this. I teach teenagers, I said. It takes quite a bit to catch me off guard. A quick smile crossed her face and disappeared just as fast. Fair enough. She glanced at my driveway, then back at me. I'm not here to fall apart on your doorstep. I'm here because I believe in balance. Balance, I repeated. She leaned in slightly, voice dropping. You and I could even the score. Clean. Quiet. Nobody has to know anything. I looked at her for a second, then let out a small laugh. Not mean about it, just honest. No, I said. Her eyebrows went up. I'm not going to turn myself into the same kind of person just to feel better for an hour, I told her. I'm putting my life back together. Okay? I'm not borrowing somebody else's problems to do it. Victoria watched me for a moment like she was deciding how to feel about that answer. Then she nodded slowly. You threw her out. Yes, I said. Good, she replied, like she was delivering a verdict. That's the only language men like Travis actually understand. She turned to leave, then stopped. He's going to try to intimidate you. I'm not intimidated by men who need an audience to feel powerful, I said. Victoria glanced back over her shoulder. We'll see. And she walked away, heels clicking down my porch steps like she was putting a period at the end of something. That night I went to River Tap. Not to drown anything. Just to sit somewhere with other people around, eat something greasy, and give my head a little room to breathe. My buddy Marcus met me there. Fellow teacher, math, always straight to the point. He slid into the booth across from me and took one look at my face. You look like you slept in a folding chair, he said. I slept like a man who's done trying to guess what's coming next, I told him. He raised an eyebrow. That bad? It's over, I said. Marcus didn't push for the whole story. He just nodded once. Okay, so what's your next move? Adult ones, I said. We were heading out through the parking lot when Travis stepped out from between two parked cars like he'd timed his entrance. He had two guys with him. Nothing threatening exactly. Just there like furniture meant to make a point. Travis smiled that same smile from my driveway. Nathan. I stopped. Calm. Marcus stopped just behind me and slightly to the side. Smart man. Travis's voice came out smooth. You've been making noise, talking to people, writing things down. I need you to let this go. I looked at him. You're worried. He gave a short laugh. I'm not worried. I'm annoyed. Sure, I said. You're annoyed because your usual routine ran into a wall. His eyes got harder. Listen, man. You don't want problems. You're a teacher. You've got a quiet little life. Just keep it quiet. I nodded slowly like I was actually weighing it. Then I said, you pulled into my driveway and smiled at me like you owned the place. Travis's grin flickered. I'm going to say this one time, I added. You don't come near me again. You don't come near my house again. And you don't send anyone else to do your talking for you. One of the guys behind him shifted his weight like he thought something was about to happen. I didn't give him anything to work with. Travis stepped closer. What are you going to do, Nathan? Report me? I shrugged. I don't need to do anything dramatic. Men like you build your own paper trails. You do it without even trying. Marcus let out a low whistle behind me. He's not wrong. Travis's jaw went tight. This is going to get messy. I leaned in just enough to make my point land. It's already messy, I said. You're just finally standing in it. Then I walked past him. Not in a hurry. Not slow either, just done. Behind me, Travis raised his voice a little. You think you're tough? I didn't turn around, just threw one line back over my shoulder as I kept walking. I think you're careless. That hit him harder than anything physical would have, because it took away the one thing he ran on: control of the moment. The next morning, I drove into downtown Omaha with a folder sitting on my passenger seat. Screenshots, dates, the Thursday rides, the seminar details, the driveway incident, notes from the parking lot, not emotional venting, not guesswork, just a clean, straight timeline. My lawyer was a woman named Denise. No nonsense from the first word. She talked like every sentence had a purpose. She flipped through my folder, eyes moving fast. You're organized. I teach history, I said. My whole job is understanding cause and effect. Denise nodded. We can start the separation process without a lot of mess. Keep your communication tight and it stays that way. I'm not here for drama, I told her. I'm here for closure. She slid a form across the desk. Sign here. I signed. Then I took out my phone and pulled up the company's general ethics line. Public information. Nothing secret about it. I filed the complaint using that same straightforward timeline. Supervisor behavior, boundary violations, pressure around the trip, and the fact that he had shown up at my home. Denise looked up from her desk. You sure you want to bring his workplace into this? I'm not bringing anyone into anything, I said. I'm documenting. If they decide to look the other way, that's their call to make. I left her office and sat in my truck for a minute, hands on the wheel, breathing normal. No big rush of satisfaction. No emotional release. Just the quiet, steady feeling of a man who had taken his life back off autopilot. By Tuesday, Lauren's approach changed. She showed up on my porch with a small paper bag. Soft voice. Careful eyes. I brought you muffins, she said. From that bakery you always liked. I didn't take the bag. You don't have a key anymore, I said. I know, she whispered. Nathan, I'm trying. Trying would have started before Sunday, I replied. Her eyes got watery. I got pulled into something I couldn't control. I looked at her. You packed a suitcase and told me I had no right to have an opinion about your career. She swallowed. I made a mistake. You made a decision, I said. There's a difference. She took a breath and shifted gears. Travis is under review. People are talking. My job might be on the line. And there it was. Not us. Not the marriage. The job. The title. The climb she'd been building. I kept my voice even, so now you remember our marriage exists. Lauren flinched. That's not fair. I shrugged. Fair isn't what we're talking about. Access is. She stepped toward the door. Just let me in to talk. That's all. No, I said. You can talk from right there. Her face tightened, anger and panic fighting each other. You're doing all of this to punish me. I let out a short laugh. If you think accountability is the same thing as punishment, that tells me a lot more about you than it does about me. She set the paper bag down on the porch like it was some kind of peace offering she didn't know what else to do with. I don't have anywhere stable right now, she said. Then you should have thought about stability before you chose to trade it away, I told her. Her mouth opened. Then she stopped herself. She gave one stiff nod. Fine. And she walked away, leaving the muffins sitting there on the porch like a leftover prop from a scene she couldn't finish. By Thursday, the company had placed Travis on administrative leave. That's what they call it when they're trying to keep a fire from jumping to the next building. By Friday, Lauren sent me a message. Can we reset? I'll do anything. I wrote back one sentence. Anything starts with honesty and ends with accepting consequences. She didn't reply. A week later, Marcus caught me in the hallway at school. You hear what's going around? He asked. I'm doing my best not to, I said. He smirked. Well, it's hard to miss. Travis's office got locked down. Devices taken. They're doing calendar audits. Half the floor is suddenly on vacation. I nodded slowly. Cause and effect. Marcus looked at me for a second. You doing okay? I'm clear, I said. He nodded. That's better than okay. The last time Lauren tried, she went all in. Too warm, too understanding, like she'd sat down and studied exactly what to say. She called and told me she was proud of me, said I was handling everything like a real man. I almost laughed. Almost. What do you want, Lauren? I asked. A pause. Then quieter. I want my life back. I kept my tone level. No. You want your comfort back. Those aren't the same thing. Her voice sharpened. You're enjoying this. I didn't take the bait. I'm ending this, I said. She tried one last shot. You're going to end up alone. You know that, right? Sitting in that house with your little swing set and your little routines. I cut her off. My routines built a home, I said. Your ambition turned it into a waiting room. Silence. I added, we're done. Don't call me again unless it's something practical. And I hung up. A month later, the street was quiet again. The yard was still kept up. The swing was still standing out back. I still went to work every day and taught history to kids who thought everything happening in their lives had never happened to anyone before. Even when it had. Even when it had happened 1,000 times. Lauren moved into a short-term rental somewhere across town. The promotion she'd been chasing dried up once her name got attached to an investigation she no longer had any control over. Travis vanished from the company the way a bad smell does once someone finally opens a window. I didn't take any satisfaction in watching them land where they landed. I just recognized the pattern for what it was. People who treat rules like suggestions tend to act surprised when those rules eventually show up with proof. As for me, life got better because it got quieter. Simpler. I started going to the gym in the mornings, not to prove anything to anyone, just because I like the feeling of showing up for yourself and stacking small disciplines on top of each other. I spent weekends with Rick sometimes, helping him fix things around his house, picking up skills I'd let sit idle for years while I was busy trying to be the understanding husband. And eventually, I met someone named Elise at a fundraiser the school put on. She was calm, direct, the kind of woman who didn't feel the need to own every room she walked into. On our first coffee, she looked at me and asked, "So what do you do when someone crosses a line?" I smiled. "I don't argue with lines," I told her. "I enforce them." She nodded, like that made complete sense to her. Like we were already speaking the same language. And that's the thing nobody really warns you about. Walking away from disrespect doesn't make your world smaller, it clears it out. For the first time in a long time, my house didn't feel like something I had to constantly guard and defend. It felt like mine again. Here's what I took away from all of it. What I tell any guy sitting across from me with that worn-out look in his eyes that says he already knows something is wrong but hasn't let himself say it out loud yet. First, the earliest signal is the one that matters most. Lauren didn't blow things up all at once. It started with secrecy, with moving too fast past me, and with that flat, closed-off look that said, "Don't ask." The driveway wasn't the real problem. The way she carried herself through it was, the moment you let that first signal slide, you're teaching people that they can bring disrespect right through your front door. Second, a boundary without a consequence is just a speech. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make threats. I changed access. I changed the rules. I stopped negotiating the terms of my own home like they were up for debate. When she chose to go on that trip after I had laid out exactly what it would mean, I didn't chase her down begging her to reconsider. I let her decision stand and I made mine. That's the part most guys get wrong. They keep trying to talk someone out of a choice that person has already made. Third, don't trade your character just to feel even. Victoria handed me a fast, ugly way to get some kind of revenge. I turned it down because I wasn't trying to win a moment. I was trying to win my life back. Going down that road would have been chasing temporary relief instead of building something clean to walk out to. And one last thing. When someone starts telling you that your standards are controlling, It's almost always because your standards are getting in the way of what they're trying to do. More conversation isn't the answer. Calm, clear action is. Respect isn't something that comes and goes depending on someone's mood. It's a baseline requirement. And the moment it disappears, everything you've been giving starts costing you more than you can afford.